Hi all, we're here on Motherly Love, and today our lovely mom featured is Abby Lynn. Hi Abby.
Hi, how are you?
We will start here now then with how many your kids you have, your family, about your kids, and an introduction into who you are, what you do that sings to your soul.
Okay, that sounds great. I am the mother of 3, and 2 of them are now preteens. So that's been, an interesting ride over the past couple of years going into the preteen phase of life. And I used to be a television producer, worked in the journalism side. Was as a child, that aspect of myself. And so now I've fully embraced being an intuitive medium. I'm a soul psychic. I work within the Akashic Record. I work as an energy healer. And I'm finally really embracing, it took almost 40 years, embracing my mission. We're gonna call it my mission, my life mission, my purpose, why we're here.
Yes, wonderful. So it kind of cut off there. What did you say as a child? I just heard the end of a child.
Sorry. Yeah, I was, I had always had experiences, as a child. I'm a lifelong experiencer. But I just really kind of compartmentalized that. That was that section of my life. And then I, just pushed that aside. I didn't really think that it was something that was going to be an aspect of myself that I would use in the future in my life and actually work with it. It was just something that I put on the shelf behind me. It was just part of me. And when I met my husband and we started living together, I warned him. I said, when you live with me, things start to get a little weird. So, but really, again, it was just something that I kind of dealt with in my life. And that would be, with the experiencer, the paranormal side, the mediumistic side. And, but I never really saw how that existed in my life outside of, it was just something that was a part of me, and only people who knew me physically in my life, they knew that side of my life that happened. But, I essentially kind of just shelved it over there, something that I dealt with. And it was really me having my children, and from a very young age, my oldest daughter was 18 months old when she started talking about her having memories of being in my belly. She actually gave me a detailed memory from my wedding because she was there. And, because I ended up getting pregnant just 6 weeks after my wedding. So, and I asked her, I said, how did you know that? And she said, Mommy, I was there. And, and I had my son very shortly after that. They're almost Irish twins. And, they were 3 and 2, and they were joking one morning at the kitchen table about them arguing about who was going to come down first. And, and so, of course I interjected in that. I said, what are you talking about? And they said, yeah, we made the decision as to who was going to come first, but we knew it because it was so close in time. And then, my son being 2, he joked, he said, I just pushed her. So, I love their being so honored. But yeah, when my daughter was 18 months old, she looked at me and she said that, that her and God made the decision to choose me as her mom because I would understand her special eyes, is what she called it. And so she's a medium, and she lives beyond, through the veil. And I think really seeing it through my kids' eyes, that made me embrace that aspect of myself more. And it was nice to have other souls to talk to, you know, about it. I didn't feel like I was this alone person that had these experiences. And, you know, we kind of had it was like our little own secret family life that we would talk about. You know, we would sit around the kitchen table and talk about our past lives that we remembered. And really that changed my aspect of being a mom, because when you're dealing with kids that are such strong star seeds and they're such old souls that you can't really, I don't want to say you can't parent them the same, but I have to respect that this 7-year-old who's sitting across from me is millions of years old, you know, and they have that awareness. And it's an interesting dynamic. And really what's grown from that is the respect of their age and their individuality, in that each one of my children are very unique souls. They came here for very unique experiences. And really, ultimately, it's my role as their mother to just support them, keep them alive, and keep them safe until they go on with their life mission. Because they absolutely came here for a purpose. And so I think having the spiritual side and knowing that the star seed souls that they are has shaped my parenting in a way for them. And really it's about just the mutual respect. You know, they perceive me not just as a mom, but they perceive me as Abby, as my soul. You know, my daughter and I, we have together, and we have, you know, sometimes we've been sisters, sometimes, you know, one was an aunt, and we have those memories. And so that also has it's an extra layer of parenting with children with that aspect.
Yes. Wow. I totally, you know, we're a lot alike. I've got a 2 and a 3-year-old now. They were so close, and same, you know, well, not quite the same, but I mean, my 3-year-old like kind of activated my gifts again. You know, I really kind of put mine away and didn't really tell anybody, you know, here and there, like, yeah, like you, weird things would happen. So people who were close to me or they'd experience it too. But I really just kind of tried to put it away and ignore it, because my thing was, as a child, you know, I wasn't allowed to have that. I was shunned for it, like you. So I just pretty much blocked it off until my third, and he really activated it. It's like I started really getting activated again, and they're like, nope, you've got it. And then I had my near death experience with my third child, and they're like, okay, no, you're here to do something, follow through, you know, like you need to share it. So it's amazing. And yeah, my second is very in tune. He's a starseed as well. We've got starseed angelic. So, you know, it is, you're right. But finding people to talk to is what's nice. Like, that's why, you know, I found you, because I love your work and your stuff. You know, I haven't had the sessions with you or anything, but I've seen, you know, your posts and seeing stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's one who's definitely in her mission and soul. So that's the moms I love to bring on.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's so true that our kids help to activate us. And that was absolutely true in my life, because, you know, I'm sure you and I, we both had it, but I didn't really know what to do with it. And I knew enough that when my children were having these experiences and they were so little, I knew how to help them through it. And you know, I didn't squash it. I didn't say, oh, you have an overactive imagination, oh, you're not seeing that, you're not experiencing that. I didn't deny their truth. And, you know, I think sometimes people who come into this lifetime with our abilities that, you know, we've carried into this incarnation, it's very easy for other people to try to squash us and shut us up and not allow us to walk in our truth. And I think that's just, as a parent, you know, for children, the most important thing we can do is validate that for them. And, you know, my oldest, her abilities came in so strong that it wasn't per se for a couple of years. She had no choice. It was always coming in around her. And, you know, sometimes we'd be at vacation in a historic area, and then we were dealing with things in our hotel room at nighttime, and they were coming at her, and it was very scary because she is such a bright light. She just attracts everything. And, you know, and so she made the choice to just completely shut down, you know, and that was her choice. And because she didn't like it anymore, it was giving her nightmares. And, you know, she was just trying to go to school and just be a normal child. And, you know, she came home one day and she had gotten in trouble in PE class because she wasn't fully participating. And, you know, I'm like, well, what happened? And she said, well, there was a spirit in the gymnasium begging for her to help. And she said, Mom, how am I supposed to concentrate and play kickball when they're in my face talking to me and begging me to help them, and I'm trying to do kickball. So, you know, that sometimes I wish that I could be very open with my kids' school teachers to say, you know, outside of just math and writing, this is what my children are dealing with. You know, they're all empaths, so they're feeling everything from all of their friends. They're feeling everything from their teachers, and also trying to concentrate and, you know, being drained at school during the day because they're being bombarded. And, you know, one day my daughter came home and she said, Mom, it's so weird because all of my friends, this is when they started to go into, you know, 6th grade. And she said, all of my friends, they're saying one thing, but all of their emotions are the exact opposite. I don't understand what's going on with that anymore because no one's expressing their true feelings. And she said, it's really hard for me because I know that they're just lying all the time. They're just lying to everybody. And so that was exhausting for her to do that. So I actually, for 2 years now, I pulled my kids and I've been homeschooling them, and just to kind of give them a little bit of a break from that environment. And their stress levels are so much better. And we've been able to have that. I feel like it's that quiet space, you know, that you can create when you're not in the rat, you know, the rat race of everything. And so we've really been able to have really good, deep conversations, and helping them to grow. In this time, they've seen me open my practice. I'm now, you know, working this with my abilities, and seeing the sessions, and they're seeing me embrace my full self, and it's actually encouraged them to explore more. And my is working with them makes them excited for their future roles and how they're going to use what they brought down here with them and how they can help people as well.
Yes, that's wonderful. I'm just going to let everyone know there is kind of some glitchy and technical issues, but I'm sure that's just the energy here. It'll probably continue, but it keeps coming back and being okay. So that's good. Yes. Yes. And I think that's important for us as well. I mean, that's amazing. You know, how you say your kids had chosen you. I've heard that from several other moms now, like how their kids chose. You know, they would get a vision or a dream of their children before they actually had them. I mean, it could be years, months, you know, whatever, but they actually had that happen. And so I feel like that was kind of the same thing there. And then fighting over who's going to come first. That's funny. But yeah, so for us to be the parents to allow that. And, you know, would you say like that's maybe paving way for the new earth, right? For the new ways, like us being the guardians and paving that way for them to create this new way.
I love that term that you use, guardians, because I've for all of my children that I am their guardian. while they're small and growing, I'm just that safe harbor for them. And until they're ready to go out and fulfill their mission. Yeah, I love that word guardian. Absolutely. You know, I don't feel, so oftentimes you hear parents say, you know, they're mine. These are mine. I don't feel that. I'm gonna say, you know, my children, but I don't feel that they're not mine. I don't have ownership of them. They are their own individual people and souls. I'm just lucky enough to be going along on this mission with them right now, and providing them the loving space, the understanding space for them to grow until they can move on, go on and pursue this mission. And it, you know, and I've done sessions on my kids, and it's so funny because each of their missions are so widely different. But yes, and to go back to your initial statement, I did have dreams of my kids before I had them, and I knew what I was going to have before every single pregnancy. I just knew, and it was almost ruined it for my husband for the ultrasound, you know, when you find out, because I already knew. And we had known. And so yeah, they, and my guides, I mean, they told me I was pregnant before I even took the test. So I didn't even need to take the pregnancy test. You know, they just came and said, you're pregnant.
Just sometimes
They
come
do.
right in.
They do. Sometimes they spoil the surprise sometimes.
Do you have any major kind of bigger events that kind of led you into what you're doing, or wow, you know, or even things that have happened with your abilities, you know, kind of bigger things that stand out for you?
Well, so I'll tell you how I came to this point, and I'm going to call. I had a year of yes. I had just spent 4 months working on producing a television show. You know, I was trying to go back in to production, and we ended up losing funding for that. So I was in a space in my life where I was flailing. I didn't really know what my purpose was, what I was going to do. You know, all these experiences, and that was part of my life, and that was my passion. You know, I was always reading and researching, and I finally just decided to let go. I just released, and I told Spirit and my higher self, I said, I'm going to let you find my path. I'm just going to trust. And I said, my bargain with you is I will never say no. I will only listen to that voice in your gut, that, you know, that excitement. I said, anything that makes me excited, I will pursue. And because I just trusted that this is going to lead me into what I'm supposed to be doing. So I called it my year of yes. And literally the next day I was scrolling through Facebook, and a local Reiki Master where I live posted that she was going to do a level 1 Reiki. And I've always heard about Reiki, but I've never experienced it. And I got excited. So I said, yep, taking the class. And I signed up. And literally that led me on my path. And, you know, and I even told them, if I'm overhearing a conversation that excites me, I will project in it and figure out. And, you know, so I took level 1 Reiki. Then I was at my friend's crystal shop or metaphysical shop. And well, she's now my friend. At that point, it was a new store. And I overheard a conversation, and I heard a keyword, and it excited me. And so I had to interject rudely into the conversation and say, what are you guys talking about? And from there, I took my first intuitive mediumship course, and because it was going to start the next week. And through that, I found out, it's just each time I took a course, another clair opened. It was just, for me, it was always there. All those abilities have always been there. it took me saying yes. And then they just exploded. So then, I had this adjustment period where everything was just coming in so quickly for me, and so many different multidimensional beings were coming in that I was readjusting to them, because it was just an explosion. Like all my clairs just wide open out of, and so then it was, okay, I have these abilities. Oh wow. What am I going to do with them? What is my purpose? And I just kept going along that year and just took another, course, to the point where I was in a class, and my guides came in. They said, "Why do you keep taking these classes? You can already do this." And so then I started going more within and really letting them, my guides help to further me along on the path. So that's really where all of this came about. Was I just let go, and I just trusted that everything will come in my path when it's supposed to, at the right time, and it will always be leading me somewhere. My only job was to energetically put my foot out the door each day.
That's such a wonderful story. That does happen. And I feel like most of us really do get stuck because, yeah, we have been looked at different, or, not sure. And we're not even sure, what does it all mean? And then, and it's not normal in society, I guess. So it's like, when you finally, I love that you just kind of let go, surrendered, and said, okay, because I was the same way at first. I'm like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go? Just trying to figure it all out. What is this? What do I really have? What kind of abilities is it? Having to even figure all that out. And yeah, just letting go and surrendering. And I feel like even now, sometimes I need to do that, like pull back and do that. And then yes, going within is the biggest thing. One of the biggest things. I think they're hand in hand, actually, like figuring it out, but then also going within really tells us a lot. Yeah, people need that. Is there a reason, like, why it took you so long to finally step out and into it?
To finally embrace it, I think it was, for the for 10 years, I was just raising my kids. I was just concentrated on doing that. And, all my energy was just really spent towards that. And I just didn't know what to do with my experiences. It was just me personally. It was just like my secret life that only a very few small amount of people ever knew about. And, I don't know, I guess I feel in a way, being normal, going out about life and, and people not knowing that aspect of myself. But now that I am living this, and I have fully, and embodied this side of myself, I can't imagine going back. And sometimes I look back and it's almost, I wasted all of those years. I could have been working on all this. Instead, I was focusing, I was working with my kids and working with their experiences. But at the same point, also trusting that everything happens at the divine moment in time when it is supposed to happen. So it just always was. And I know that I chose that. I chose this life pattern. And, and also there's also, when I opened up to this, I had to go back and I had to realize that some things when I was very young, I had trapped away. I had completely hidden those memories from myself. And that was an adjustment too. You know, it would almost come up where I was feeling nauseous and I instantly knew I'm blocking something. And so I would meditate and I'll go within, and then, you know, the memory would come through. And I worked with my guides sharing this to please help me bring this up. I'm blocking something. And I was able to have the reflection time, you know, that time period where I could just sit back and I could digress, you know, things that had happened when I was very, very young in the, you know, spiritual side. Because I was so little, I didn't really know how to perceive it. And even though I've always had, you know, my mom is very, very awake, and I always would have had her to talk to most of that. So I just kept it hidden.
It does seem like many do for a while at least, but yeah, I like that too. It's so true though, divine timing, you know, it happens in divine timing, and it's timing that it will. So
Yeah.
we trust that.
Yeah. You know, it's, you know, kind of switching the subject a little bit. It's been interesting being a mom with my kids, because when they were really little, some of their past lives would come through. I would be driving in the car, and I think because some of the memories come through when the brain goes into almost like a theta level, and they would just be in their car seats, and I could almost see like a glaze kind of go over their eyes, and then they would just start spitting out this memory, and then the emotions would come through with it. And I remember I would drive and just, you know, kind of looking at them in the rearview mirror, and I knew that they are almost in like a regressive type of brain wave. So I couldn't interject too much. I needed some of it just to come out, because when you have an emotion attached to some of those memories, you need to let them just come out. And then I would slowly ask some questions, and you know, for instance, I think my oldest was maybe 3 or 4, and we were driving the car, and all of a sudden she just started crying. And you know, I'm like, what's wrong? But she was in this glaze, and she started talking about how her daughter died. And she said, I told the doctor not to give him 2 shots. I told him not to give him 2 shots, that she couldn't handle 2 shots, but he did. And then she died. And she said, and then she started crying. And then she said, and my husband and I, we didn't have any more kids after that, because we already lost our son, and both of our kids had died. And so we didn't have any more kids after that. And she said, I told the doctor not to give her 2 shots. And it was like she just needed to replay that for some reason. And then it was just like, boom, she just went out of it. You know, it was like, you know, it was just this huge emotional dump that needed to come through. And so I just always found that interesting, which aspects came through their memory, and like why that happened, and what they needed to release from it, why they carried it over into this one. You know, but I just allowed them to have those moments and say it, and just let them be. I just let them be with who they are.
Do you happen to know like the science behind that, possibly? Like, you know, when we go into that kind of place?
Yeah. So I've done some remote viewing, and I know that with remote viewing, you get down into the theta realms, and that's right before you start to fall asleep. And it's really, anyone, if you've done past life regression, or you know, I've done a QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique. I recommend that to anybody who hasn't done that. And really, and anytime you do a regression or QHHT, you're opening up a door, and it's almost helps you access more of yourself, and then, you know, just more things will come. And but like remote viewing, getting back into that theta, that's the same place in your mind where it's like right before you fall asleep, but you're very lucid. Or if that window where some people, when they're waking up in the morning and they're in between that I'm still asleep dream state, but I'm waking up, I know I'm awake, but their brains, I really picked up. I get a lot of information when I've just woken up, but my body is still asleep per se. And I know in that window, I'm awake enough, I can start asking questions and I get answers just flooding in from guidance at that time. I don't know. It's just, it just opens up a doorway in our brains. Somebody else is much more educated to explain this than I am. And if anyone is interested in remote viewing and learn more about Franco, I took his remote viewing course. That I really enjoyed that, and he can explain how what happens when your brain gets into that theta level.
I was just curious because I experience it, but I didn't know. You're kind of saying you get into that spot. I mean, the best time, mine's usually right before, in the in-between, before I sleep. That's when I'll sometimes ask some of those things. Or of course, just during meditation. And some of us are just like open, very open channels and can just ask it, say it, and can get it just right then and there. But yeah, so that happens.
Yeah. And I think, I'm at that point now where the connection is always there, and I feel like you work up and you build that and you break down those layers, and your brain is almost can instantly get down into those spots where you want to channel and you can connect. It's just there now. I think the main thing is just getting to that quiet place and allowing it to be. And and after a while, I always say I only kick ego to the curb. Anytime I do work, I literally visualize the ego just whoosh, and I always send it love, because ego is there and has protected us. It protects us, but it can also be our worst enemy when you're doing this work, because it makes you question but lovingly kick ego to the side, and then just the connection comes through.
Yes, I like how you put that. That's about right. That's it. Kick that ego, but it has its place. But
yeah,
like how important that connection is, our connection to, well, everything, right? All, like earth, heaven, each other. What is your take on that, if you have any words there?
To me, it's everything. It's everything in regards to, I don't have any worries or stress anymore, because I realize that it serves zero purpose, and that everything in our lives happens for a reason. And I also realize, when you have that connection, that's when you'll hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I walk with spirit, I walk with God." It's just I feel that when you get to that point where you realize that everything has a divine purpose, and even beyond that you've chosen everything that's coming into your life, you take your power back, I guess, in a way. And you become the free, sovereign being that you are. You are not a victim of anything. It completely removes all of that train of thought. And once you realize that everything that has happened, there is no good or bad, there just is. And everything in our lives, and I work with my clients, it gives us an opportunity to learn and to grow. And You know, so here's a story. And I was at a conference and I shared this story. So I'm a galactic channel, and I was having a pity party for myself one day about how hard it is down, you know, down here. And you know, everything's so easy for them up there because they're already living in the 5D and above. You know, they get the bigger picture. And so, you know, I was being a baby and complaining. And you know, my family said, and in one particular, he said, "You're the one who is essentially living in like Walt Disney World right now. You have like our souls, the ones who have come down here, we are learning and growing and expanding our energetic, like we are just having so many experiences that we are learning that we will forever be carrying into every future incarnation. And a lot of us that are down here, we came down here to be here for this, so that as we move off of this planet and go elsewhere, we have within our DNA now the energy cord of what it is like to experience an awakening, which we are going through. And we will be the teachers as we go on to other incarnations. And, you know, and he said, "Why are you complaining? You're down here, you get to experience, and you're having all of these new things happening all the time." And he said, "We're just still doing the same thing that we have been doing for, you know, for thousands of years. You know, the people, the souls that chose to come down here, were expanding on levels that I don't think we even can conceptualize while being within a three-dimensional world." And so he kind of, you know, put me in my place a little bit, and I realized that, okay, I have the memory of me choosing to come down here. So I'm lucky to have that, because anytime I do want to complain, I go back to like, I chose this. But yeah, so just realizing that everything here is for a reason, and there is a purpose, and we are always learning and growing, and it's always for the betterment of our souls. And through that, we are able to help everybody else because we are all one. I think that's another important aspect as well, is when you are working with spirit and with the higher densities, dimensionals, multidimensionals, you do truly realize we are all one and we are all connected. And there are places where nothing but love exists. Love and acceptance. There is no such thing as good or bad. There just is. And that's, you know, what I work with my kids as well. And I, you know, when we have big conversations about this, of just to things just exist, and know that everything that we're doing is for a purpose, and you've chosen it, and we're growing and expanding, and don't put judgment into things. Just, you know, take it for the gifts that we're given.
Yeah, so just for an explanation, you know, for the audience and things, because, you know, what is your take on that, like the good and bad aspect, right? So what about, we know there is some evilness around. So how would you put that in with that kind of stuff? Would you say it's like, to me, we are all, of course, from God. Evil, good, bad, you know, all of us come from that source, pure loving source. But here on this planet, we do kind of tend to experience a good and bad. So how would you maybe explain that?
I guess the way I was talking to a colleague about this, and you wouldn't know how bright light is without being in darkness. You can't have only one aspect. There's the duality. Everything is duality, and yes, there is, you know, light and dark and good and bad, but when I say, you know, there's no good or bad, there just is, I am talking about the emotional aspect that we put behind that. Don't put all of the, you know, the negativity into it, just accept it. The darkness so that we can see how it can be. And that's how I look at it, is any aspect of negativity or darkness is giving us an opportunity to shine our lights even brighter. And that's how I look at it. And again, it's another opportunity for us to learn from. And that's the importance of duality that's just my personal opinion. And, you know, I always encourage everyone, use your own discernment. And, you know, that's just my personal take on it.
Yes, I loved that. Yes, I agree. That was so good, that it is for us to grow. And I love that analogy you used, you know, the light and the dark, and we wouldn't know if we didn't experience it, right? And that's so true. I broke that down with when I say things are just as is, just means the emotion behind it. I mean, I hadn't thought of it that exact way, but that's a good way to put it out there for people to think and understand it more. We kind of have the audience of both, you know, some who get it and others who kind of try and understand the spiritual aspect or that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I guess, you know, how I look at it is, I'll give a, for instance, just at a parenting, for instance, a parental, for instance. You know, I have a preteen, and she had something pretty bad happen with her friends. You know, she was left out of something, and which is normal, you know, 13, 14-year-olds. And instead of dwelling in the negativity of it, the emotional aspect of it, you know, we flipped it. And I said, well, look at it instead. I said, look at it as a gift. They have just given you a gift, because now you see them for their truth. Those actions are showing you that they are not true friends. So instead of dwelling in, oh, this awful thing happened to me and I'm going to be upset about it, flip it and look at it as a gift. All right, thank you. Thank you for showing me that you just excluded me from a, you know, in a social aspect. You didn't give back into the friendship what I was putting in. Thank you for showing that to me. So now I know what to give back to you. Does that make any sense? You know, instead of her always giving out 100%, they just gave her nothing. You know, yeah. I'm not going to 100% to always be getting nothing back.
Yes, that makes total sense. I think, and too, when we come to this place, like, it really is about receiving as well, like realizing that we give, but we also make room to receive, and also for our energy not to be taken as we're giving. I did actually, that's what my video actually before this had a lot to do with discernment, and how we sometimes give too much with that, and then it just takes from us and our energy. So, you know, when we do this work, we've had to learn, you have to kind of put a cutoff point. You have to see things for what they are and really, you know, decide from there. And like you say, not put that negative emotion, just like it's a growing thing. You can now see truth, like, let's get past it. And then I love that brings me back to when you said earlier, like, you're just less stressed, you're less worried, and all this kind of flows within this space that we have created. We have to create it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, in doing the sessions that I work with my clients, you realize outside of what our mission, you know, coming down here and whether, you know, some people's mission is just to be, like, they truly are. It's just to be, and they can do, you know, whatever they want. They can be master manifestors, but they're just here to bring their bright light. And that's really it. You know, some people are down here because they needed another lifetime to clear out karmic cycles that had been playing out. And so, you know, those are now coming to surface, and, you know, you go back and you look for those. And then once you're presented with the truth of that, then you have the free will to cut it. You know, that's another thing I've also learned through this work, is that in terms of, you know, going back to being a victim, you know, I think sometimes we get into this trap of, oh, that's my karma, I have to work it off. I have to work it off. Well, really, once you have become aware of what the karma is and where it originates from, then you now have the ability to cut it. You can say, I now know what it is. I'm asking for forgiveness, or I forgive those who brought that onto me, and now I'm going to cut it. I'm not going to be a victim and say, I have to sit in this karma for 20 more years or for my life and just say, well, I have karma. Well, I have karma. No, once you know about it, you have the free will to release that cord and cut it. You know, so I kind of, you know, one of my things of not being a victim to certain aspects of your life, because I do see some people get caught in the trap of that karma, you know, trap, and think they have to just sit in it for years and years and years and years, and that just isn't the case. That's not how they view it, because they're just absolute, you know, love. Again, it's the no judgment. There's just no judgment. It's just growth and evolving. So, and another important aspect too, that I really would love to, and I know I'm sure all of your other people have said this, I can't express this enough. We are never alone. Ever, ever, ever alone. We are surrounded, you know, I work with so many of my clients. We are surrounded by so many, on multiple levels, guides, loved ones, guardians, protectors, that are just here to help us. And the only thing that is stopping us is that, for people, is that you don't realize that they are there. They can't do anything unless it is asked of them. So, you know, they're just waiting. They're just waiting to be asked. They're bored, you know. When are you going to finally ask me to help you? Because they can't do it for you. You have to ask for it. And you know, and it goes back to, again, outside of what our mission is to do here, outside of that, nothing in this life should be hard. You know, it's just ask your guides to come in and help. One of the simplest analogies I always, you know, I give people is the, if you really want to see the power that you have for, you know, your guides or manifestation, is the parking lot analogy. You know, it shouldn't be hard finding the perfect parking spot. So, you know, my kids and I, especially around, you know, the holidays, we work on manifesting when we're in the car and we're driving. I'm like, all right, we're gonna get a spot. Let's all manifest it. It's gonna be right at the front door. Like when we pull in, someone's gonna pull out, we're just gonna pull right in. And all right, let's all manifest. And we do that as a family in the car, and then sure enough, every single time, whoop, it's, you know, it's just right there, right outside of where we're going. And it's just, you know, it's a fun, easy, I'm not going to call it a trick, but, you know, it's a fun thing, a game to play. If people are just new to this and they want to test it out, just talking to your guides and manifesting works.
Oh yes, the parking lot works every time. It works every time. Yes, that's one of my, I say that's my kind of motto thing, ask and you shall receive. Just people have just forgotten, you know, or they only leave it like, it's like leaving it, putting it out there almost like a prayer and just saying it, but then not really asking. And it's like you still ask and allow and receive, be open to allow and receive the answers, because they may not always come. That's the thing too, we know, like they may not come right here in your face, you know, right, but it comes through so many different ways. Songs, I like to use the animals. They'll come through, and, you know, seeing repetitive animals or hearing certain lyrics, hearing something on the TV, or seeing numerous words over and over. It's like so many ways they come through. And then once we finally open up and allow that connection, then it's a flow and it happens. And I love to see everyone get into that. I mean, we all have that, to where you're right. We all have those around us who really want to help, and we just, set the intention for the highest and best through love. That's my advice, always highest and best through love and divine wisdom, divine compassion, and it's like it's there. And we've kind of come in this age of, if you don't see it, how can you believe it? And I know people have been that way. I myself was for a while. So it's really important people know that, for sure.
It boils down to also trust. You just trust that it will be there. And like you said, learning to accept it, embrace it, and knowing that it's not always going to come in the way that we might have asked for it, but the way that it does come through is exactly how it's supposed to come through. I love your talking about, animals, and I'm always trying to tell people we're so much more connected to everything around us. I was out for a run one day, and I run, that's part of my meditation, and I run, and I was just in a kind of a low period, and a dragonfly actually flew up near me, but I was running near water, and I asked it, I said, will you please fly along with me? I'm just really feeling blue. Will you just fly along with me? And that dragonfly flew right next to my face for 300 yards, the whole time, just being right next to me. And it's those little glimpses that you get, and when you can physically see it and realize we are so connected, our thoughts are so powerful, and everything around us, they feel it and they hear it. And I think it's just people realizing that we are so much more powerful and connected than we can ever imagine. And once you do, it just opens up, the opportunities open up, and it's a beautiful world. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yes, I agree. It so is. Like you said, less stress, less worry for it. We still get that, right? I mean, it still happens, but it's just when you come from this place of the surrender and love, it just is more like you also look at things as a lesson and growth more than, kind of that poor me stuff, that kind of, we go through that sometimes, I think all of us, but it's just when you're in this place, it's just so much easier to magnetically, you just go back to, okay, well, this is for a reason. There's a lesson here. There's growth here. And now what? Now why and what? And I'll figure it out and get past it. So I think, talking to some people, there's this power of positive thinking stuff going around, like, and it's true. Now it's hard because I think sometimes people can get it confused, like with that, oh, if you do that, you're just always happy-go-lucky and everything, there's nothing wrong there, but it's totally not true. It's just we come back from a place, or to this place of love and surrender.
You're exactly right. Of course, I have my blue days, or of course I'll get mad from time to time, but we bounce back fast. It's you have this emotion, and then you realize this isn't serving me. I'm going to move, and then you just bounce out of it. You don't swim in it for very long. My son was actually talking to me the other day, and it's been interesting. We'll just say it's been interesting in the world for the past 8 months. And he was pretty emotional, and he said, Mom, I just can't imagine how all of these other people are living with this level of fear in their hearts and in their minds all day, every day. And, being an empath, empaths, we can feel what people are feeling around us, and they are. It's been, and he just said, I can't imagine living like that. And I told him, I said, this is the aspect where we realize that we have a certain level of spiritual privilege, because we are able to see things for, you know, what they are. And, you know, during when all of this stuff started happening with the shutdowns and you know, I was connected to spirit. I went straight to spirit. I don't watch, you know, I go straight to spirit, in a great mood. You know, they said everything's going to be fine. Like, you're going to be fine. They weren't worried, so I wasn't worried. And so, and it is hard for other people who don't have that connection to understand how some of, you know, how some of us can be happy when they look around it and they're, you know, watching the news and it's just all bad and fear, and it is. And so I was telling my son, I said, there's an aspect of, this is why we're here. Like, people who have been opened up to their gifts, this is why we're here, to help everyone so they aren't living in that daily fear and worry. This is where people like, you know, people like us who are open, it's our responsibility to help other people.
That saying, the faith over fear. And I know I've had I like you, I went right to spirit, right to it all, and I'm like, okay, what is this going on? And and I got the same message, you know, we're maybe that, you know, that's part of our job here, is to be that light, be that hope. I mean, I've gotten that so much through all of this, and really lately, these past couple days and everything going on, just hope. Keep the hope. Keep the hope. Keep the faith alive. And that's what you're to do. That's what we're to do. You know, we are that beacon. Yeah. And so it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, everywhere that we go out, when we're out in public, and, you know, and my husband is very gifted at this. He just has a natural ability to make people laugh. But we just try to raise the vibration everywhere, you know, everyone we meet, and no matter what, we try to get everybody engaged and laughing and having a good time. Because when we raise our vibration, that's in the heart center. We feel better. That's how increases our connection, is, you know, living in that higher vibrational state. So yeah, you know, it's our job to go out and be that light and be that positive emotion and feeling. And, you know, so 2 years ago, I actually went out. It was really close to Christmas, and I went to Target, and I knew that they're working long shifts, and you know, I used to work in retail during the holidays. It was just awful. And because you're absorbing everybody else's stress all day long for the workers. And I was going to check out, and you know, I told my husband, I said, let's really lift the woman who's going to check us out. And so I didn't even look at her. I was unloading the cart, but the whole time I was just pushing as much light and energy towards her that I could. Just blasting her with light, higher vibrational energy. And my husband stood and he just talked to her, and he got her talking and laughing. And by the end of it, she handed us a receipt, and she said, I don't know what you guys just did, but I feel so much better. And I actually think I can make it through the rest of my shift today. And, you know, so that's the abilities that we all have to do for one another. You know, so when you see someone that you can feel that their energy is depleted or they're tired, you just push as much light and positivity and loving energy their way and raise them up. You know, and if we can all be doing that for each other, we need to feel more through our hearts. If we can feel out other people, bounce that out, you know, it's unbelievable what we can do and accomplish when we are actually feeling and lifting everybody up.
Yes, beautiful. I agree so much. That's beautiful. I love that light analogy and just lifting. Yes, we all, and truly at our hearts, souls, cores, we truly all want that and come from that beautiful, loving vibration of just, you know, it's happy, it's peaceful, it's love. everything within love. So yes, we'll just end with any words of advice or opinions for these times, and where people can find you. I'll put it in the description as well, but you know, your information if you have anything coming up, and final words.
Oh gosh, I guess really my final words is to be kind to yourself and love yourself and love everything about you, and know that everything in your life has been chosen and it's all for a divine purpose, and it doesn't have to all come at once. It's like having the patience, you know, just like the year. Yes, I just knowing that all I have to do is put the positive intention and energetically put my foot out the door each day, and know that, trusting that I'm working together with spirit, that the in our life will unfold naturally at the right time and progression that it is supposed to. And to just let things just be, and just be love. I mean, just be love everywhere you go. And when you are, you know, it's that boomerang effect, you know, you get what you give. So if you're, you know, walking and pushing out love and light, you're going to get love and light back. And you know, there's, you know, been times during these past 8 months where I've gone out and, you know, and I can feel some of the energy, and I almost, you know, I want positivity coming back at me. So when I'm pushing that out and I go out, that's what I'm getting back. So, you know, I come back home feeling better. So that might just be my advice for right now, is everything's going to be good. You know, everything I get from guidance is, we haven't seen anything yet. It's only going to get so much better. And sometimes we have to go through, you know, we have to go through these labor pains to have the birth. And we know we're coming in towards the new earth and a newer paradigm. And we're just kind of in the labor pains right now, but it's going to be really good. It's going to be really good. But in order to find me, I'm still right now, you know, I work locally. You can find me on social media, Abby Lynn. You can message me if you're wanting, you know, sessions or to talk. I'm still working on my website. But I will be going to a conference in March down in Florida. And when that website is up to sign up for that, I will share that with you, and then you can add it into the description. So I will be speaking there. I'm speaking and I'm doing a workshop.
Okay, great. Yes, love your last words, and thank you for being here, and wish you the best, and thank you for being you and in your purpose, and being that teacher and that light and love.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.